Oops. My dear friends, thank you so much. I'm downstairs now. I'm so glad that it gives me the chance to say my favorite insight about flexibility, which is blessed are the flexible, for they will never be bent out of shape. So my friends, just to check up, can you hear me clearly? Okay, wonderful. Okay, so the topic today is silence, and to add to that, also right speech. And you know, when we talk about something so precious as silence, one would imagine that it really resonates, but we have to be careful because the word silence might not necessarily sound music to everybody's ears. Let me give you some context. You know, some years ago in the sanctuary, upstairs that is, I was giving a talk on the precious benefits of fasting in Ramadan. I noticed that two women got up and they left the sanctuary. And one of them stayed behind to explain to me that, you know, she was an active worker in Africa, working in the remotest village, helping the villagers there to overcome malnourishment, hunger, poverty. And this whole idea of fasting did not really resonate for her. When I say silence, this can be problematic for some people. Those who have been abused throughout history because of their race, their color, patriarchal abuse, people silenced because of domination. So just be with that. So I want to explain, when I talk about silence, I'm talking about voluntary silence and how it can really benefit us. So when I think of silence, and I'll go through the different traditions, I love silence in different traditions. In the Islamic tradition, in the Quran, it is mentioned that there was the night of power in the year 610 CE, after birth of Christ, where Prophet Muhammad used to go in the mountains to meditate, to be in silence. And this one particular time, one particular evening, he was in silence in the year 610 when a remarkable event occurred. He saw this huge light approaching him, who announced, "I am Angel Gabriel," and commanded, "Iqra, recite." And there's a story to it, but eventually he felt a deep squeezing inside, and the words of beauty came out of his mouth. And these were the first words of the verses of the Quran. The point here is that this happened for 23 years, the Prophet Muhammad going into a trance and words coming out, but the Quran has its roots in the womb of silence. And the Quran says, in that time of silence, angels and the Spirit descend. When we are in sacred silence, you know, if we could hear, if we could see, really, we could see and hear, the air would be thick with what is called pulsating with angelic activity. We might even be able to hear, the great sages say, the rustling of wings. So just be with that for a few moments. Hinduism, I love that story of that father and son, the son telling the father about this fruit tree. "Father, where does this fruit come from?" Father says, "Son, explore." Son takes a fruit, cuts it open, says, "Father, I see a seed, a little seed, some seeds inside." Father says, "Go deeper." The son cuts the seed, says, "Father, I see nothing. There is nothing." And the father says, "Yes, and that is everything." That nothingness, that quietness, that silence, and those famous words, "Tat Tvam asi, and that art thou. And Hindus say, there could be gods, goddesses, or different aspects of goddedness, but there's something beyond that, which is the source of gods and goddesses: silence. Again, let's be with that. If I look into Buddhism, it is said, and I'm not exactly sure about the exact words, it's controversial, but it is said that once the Buddha, who really meditated a lot, and he asked his congregation to do that, he once said, somebody asked him, what do you gain from meditation? What do you gain from meditation? And apparently the Buddha said, nothing at all. Nothing at all. And everybody was shocked. Then why do you make us meditate all these days and weeks and months and years? And the Buddha said, yes, I have gained nothing at all, but let me tell you what I have lost. I have lost my anxiety, my depression, my fear of death, my fear of sickness. That is why I meditate. Okay, Taoism. I love Taoism. That book called Tao Te Ching. And there are two small words there called Wu Wei. What is Wu Wei? Wu Wei is a state of being that emerges from within us. You might call it a higher vibration we gain when we practice silence. And also the Tao Te Ching adds, you purify yourself. If you purify yourself and you practice silence, the verse in Tao Te Ching says, it is in silence that the spirit of the Tao makes its home in you. Over time, you become blessed, you become endowed, you become infused with Wu Wei. And what's the power of Wu Wei? There's a lovely story of this Taoist Chuang Tzu, who says, I know of a butcher who has not sharpened his cleaver, his knife, for 20 years. This butcher has not sharpened his knife for 20 years. Why? Because he has Wu Wei. And when he cuts the bones of oxen, because he has Wu Wei, the knife finds the empty spaces between the bones. If I am running into conflicts in my life, metaphorically running into walls in my life, maybe I need more Wu Wei to find the invisible empty spaces in the wall. Once again, just be with that for a few moments. My friends, you know that I love the poetry of Rumi. I love to meditate on that in silence. So what does Rumi say about silence? Rumi says, silence is not the absence of sound. It is the absence of the little self. I, me, me. What Hindus call, when you close your eyes and you want to relax, you begin to have the rattle of the cage of monkeys. This thought, this image, that image. So we've got to find a way to quieten this chatter. In the Quran, there's a verse that when you go to paradise, one of the beauty is you will not be listening to idle talk, only peace. And the idle talk is described as outer chatter and inner chatter. another verse from Rumi. Silence is the language of God. Silence is the language of God. Everything else is a poor translation. So I'd like you just to meditate on this in silence. Another verse that says, Jamal, be silent so that the Lord who gave you language may speak. For as she fashioned a door and a lock, he also made a key. Another one, a favorite one of mine. All the theologies of this world, all the theologies of the world are as nothing compared to one whisper of the beloved. All the theologies of this world are as nothing compared to one whisper of the beloved. Another line says, there is a voice that does not use words. Jamal, there is a voice that does not use words. Listen, listen. So now I come down to what is listening. It's such a sacred art. In my line of business, I have to learn, and this I'm talking about myself, really learn how to listen to the other. And I love the mystical explanation. What is listening? Again, the 13th century Rumi says, metaphorically, listening is like putting your head on the person's chest and sinking into the answer. Listening is putting your head on the person's chest and sinking into the answer. I love those insights. Jamal, who is an enemy? Who is an adversary? Who is somebody you don't like? Maybe it's someone whose story you have not really listened to. Maybe it's someone whose story you have not listened to. And the insight I quote all the time because I want to practice that, by that professor Noam Chomsky from MIT, who says, Jamal, if you do not listen to those you despise, if you do not listen to those you despise, you don't really believe in freedom of speech. Just be with that for a few moments. And one critical point, all the traditions say, the real listening is, I'm talking to myself, Brother Jamal, the real listening is listening to yourself, listening to your heart. There are many voices in you, Jamal. Can you discern and find the real voice, the voice of your higher self, of your divine spark? You know, we have, each one of us has within us Christ nature, Buddha nature, Elohim nature, Allah nature, Krishna nature. That's the divine spark. The Quran says, yes, you have God's breath within you. You have Godedness within you. But out of a cosmic design, Allah has also put in every single human heart the slinking whisperer. The slinking whisperer, which tries to lead you astray. And it's out of a cosmic design. It's for your good. It's for to awaken within you, Jamal, the power of making choices, learning discernment. So listen to the voice. Have an experience in life. Act on it. If you made a mistake, grow from it. Mature from it. Keep experimenting. Keep exploring to those voices within you till you learn to connect to the true voice. That's why Prophet Muhammad said, yes, listen to everybody, to all the voices outside of you, inside of you, but always consult your heart. Consult your heart. Of course, I must purify my heart. If I purify my heart, the Quran says, the heart never falsified what it saw. Okay, one more listing before I go on to right speech, and I'll be brief. The Quran suggests that it is critical to listen to the silent messages of nature. In fact, a powerful verse in the Quran says, you know, the creation of the heavens and the earth is a greater matter than the creation of humanity, but man understands not. This has led mystics to say that the holiest of the holiest of the holiest manuscript is actually nature. Can I listen and learn from the silent messages of nature? One of my favorite ones is, which I say all the time, where this person goes to the almond tree, and trees are mentioned very often in the Quran. This is actually by a Christian writer. And the person says, oh, sister almond tree, tell me about God. And the almond tree blossomed in silence. You know, here we practice interfaith. Rumi says, look at a tree. It's giving you a silent message. The branches of the tree, they're swaying differently in the wind. The branches of the tree are swaying differently in the wind, but they're all connected at the roots. It's all one. About humility and creativity, Jamal, have you not noticed when you plant a seed in the ground, in the dark, in silence, it germinates. A little acorn becomes like a tree, a huge tree. It happens in silence. I could go on and on, but one of my favorite ones, because I've had to learn this so much about patience. The patience shown by the rose to the thorn is what keeps it fragrant. The patience shown by the moon to the dark night is what keeps it radiant. Okay, I better stop about the nature, but I have to tell you one more favorite story of mine about interconnection. Let me take the Buddhist version. It's in several traditions where, you know, Buddhist monks, they love to preach outdoors in forests or in parks. And as the monk is about to step onto the dais, as it were, onto the stage to speak to the huge congregation, he stops. Why? Because a bird begins to chirp and sing. And the monk stops. The congregation is quiet and listens to the chirping of the bird. They're in silence. And once the chirping stops, the monk steps down saying, the sermon has been delivered. That has many, many meanings. So just be with that for a few moments. Okay, my friends, I'm looking at the time and I'm looking at my subject. Very briefly, I'll talk about right speech, words. I love the words of Hafiz, who suggests that please be careful about your words, because words becomes the house you live in. Ponder on that. Words become the house you live in. Mahatma Gandhi said, at a time when he was in the lowest stage of his life, humiliated, felt he was good for nothing. The first time he tried to speak as a lawyer, he trembled and shook, and he fell unconscious on the ground, and everybody laughed. He felt so shamed. I'm good for nothing. Till he read these words from the Hindu scriptures. Truth is God. And those words, they splashed in his chest. They went deep inside of him. And he began to meditate on those words. Truth is God. He became a very truthful person. He began to live the truth. And he developed these incredible, shall we say, powers. From those words, truth is God. He had many failings as a human being, but that insight is incredibly precious, the power of words. Some insights from the sages about words, like the Buddha says, in Buddhism is one of the Eightfold Path, right speech. And one of the main insight about right speech is, Jamal, do not gossip. Do not gossip. It hurts you and hurts others more than you'll ever know. And his famous words, which I meditate on very, very often, dwelling on your brother's or sister's faults, dwelling on your brother's or sister's faults multiplies your own. And the other favorite one, actually is from Prophet Muhammad, but paraphrased by Rumi, veil the faults of others. Veil the faults of others so yours might be veiled. Veil the faults of others so yours might be veiled. What other insight? Jamal, be very careful when you're angry. Be very careful with your words when you are angry. This is in every tradition. You might say words you will really regret. And remember this, Jamal. It's like an arrow from the bow, same metaphor in many traditions. Once the arrow is sent, it cannot be brought back. That's why I love these words of Rumi. He says, about anger and words during anger, he says, raise your words, not your voice. Jamal, raise your words, exalt your words, not your voice. It is rain that grows flowers, not thunder. But we can have righteous anger. And all the traditions say it's beautiful you have righteous anger, but be careful. Be careful if you're not self-aware and you linger. If you linger on your anger, it might fester into a desire for revenge. That's why the Quran says, when there is anger, which is chronic, there's injustice and it's chronic, there's helplessness and it's chronic. It's not that the eyes become blind, the hearts become blind. And when the hearts become blind, we do and say terrible things. Okay, I'll come to an end now, just very quickly about words. Jamal, don't overdo your words. Like I'm speaking so long now. Don't overdo your words. It becomes a burden on the others. You know, Confucius, he used to have a disciple who used to study with him, and everybody was very amazed because this disciple had many qualities that were superior to Confucius, but he chose to study with Confucius. And Confucius said, yes, when he was asked, why does this disciple study with you for years and years and years? And Confucius explained, you know, this disciple of mine is far more eloquent and elegant in his speech than I am. But he does not know when to give a simple yes or no for an answer. And the last point, because this is so emphasized in Sufism, when you have this feeling of anguish and anger, it is absolutely okay to express this frustration, anger fully, completely with God, with your intimate beloved. So when I see clients who have been savaged by life circumstances, I say, you have permission. I try to convince them, whatever your tradition is, you have permission to express your anger, your fury, your pain, your sadness to your intimate beloved God, and they experience an incredible peace. So for me, that is the greatest mystery, that in all of these injustices, where is God? When you express it to your beloved, who is the most intimate, you feel the deepest connection with that same God. Okay, my friends, I've said enough. Let's just be very, very still and very quiet for a few moments. And I see this is time for a short meditation. So please become very still. Close your eyes. And then focus on your nostril and simply breathe in and breathe out as you focus on your nostril, being present with your inhalation and exhalation, just this much. Okay, letting go of this, eyes still closed. And now please focus on your heart. Our heart has been yearning, aching to connect with us. If it pleases you, take one hand or both hands and put it over the heart. Touch your heart and feel a connection with your heart. And as you become very still, please listen to the rhythm, to the beat of the heart. Feel the beat of your heart. Listen to it, please. Connect with it. Several traditions say divinity is the heartbeat within the heartbeat. And now letting go of that, but now again, listen to this beautiful revelation from divinity to each one of us, where divinity says, beloved one, I cannot be contained in the space of the earth. I cannot be contained in the space of the heavens, but I can be contained in the space of the pure, loving heart. Just be with that mystery. Divinity is outside of you and inside of you, in the innermost chambers of our heart. Focus on your heart. The space is unbounded, infinite. And the Quran says to divinity belong the most beautiful names. When we praise divinity, God doesn't become holy, we become holy. You might say to the heart, thank you. I am so grateful. Praise be to you. Or a favorite one among Sufis is telling the space of your heart, I love you, with feeling. No matter how awkward it might feel, I love you. I really love you. Thank you. Please help me. I need help. Whatever comes to your human heart, plant it in your human heart. It reaches divine heart. And whatever you're saying is beautiful because it comes from your heart. It is healing. It is empowering. It is transforming in ways we cannot even imagine. And now I'm going to sing a chant and gently coming into awareness. The chant is Bismillah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Ever so gently, opening your eyes, take your time, and just be in silence again, just for a few seconds.